The history of the United States of America dates back to the arrival of indigenous people on the continent, but this answer will focus on the more recent history of the country, starting from the colonial period up to the present day. Colonial period, 1607 to 1776. The colonial period of American history began in 1607 with the founding of Jamestown, Virginia, by English colonists. Over the next century, more English colonies were established along the Atlantic coast, including Massachusetts, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. These colonies were governed by charters granted by the British Crown and were largely self-governing. In the mid-18th century, tensions began to rise between the American colonies and Great Britain. The colonists resented British attempts to tax them without their consent and to exert greater control over their affairs. In 1775, a group of colonists formed the Continental Army and declared their independence from Britain, sparking the American Revolution. Revolutionary period, 1776 to 1783. The Revolutionary War began in 1775 with the battles of Lexington and Concord, and culminated in the Battle of Yorktown in 1781. The following year, the Treaty of Paris was signed, officially ending the war and recognizing the United States as an independent nation. The newly formed United States faced significant challenges in the aftermath of the Revolutionary War. The country was deeply in debt, and there was a lack of centralized government. In 1787, the Constitutional Convention was held in Philadelphia to draft a new constitution. The resulting document established a federal system of government with a strong central government and a separation of powers between the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Early Republic, 1789 to 1824. In 1789, George Washington was inaugurated as the first President of the United States. During his 2 terms in office, he oversaw the creation of many of the country's key institutions, including the National Bank, the judiciary, and the cabinet. The early years of the Republic were marked by political polarization and the emergence of political parties. The Federalist Party, led by Alexander Hamilton, favored a strong central government and a market-based economy, while the Democratic-Republican Party, led by Thomas Jefferson, favored a more decentralized government and an agrarian economy. The United States also expanded its territory during this period, with the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 and the acquisition of Florida from Spain in 1819. Jacksonian Era, 1824 to 1848. The Jacksonian era was characterized by the rise of populist politics and the expansion of democracy. Andrew Jackson, a war hero and self-made man, was elected president in 1828. He championed the interests of the common man and sought to expand the power of the presidency. During this period, the United States continued to expand westward, with the annexation of Texas in 1845 and the Mexican-American War from 1846 to 1848. The war resulted in the acquisition of California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and parts of Colorado, New Mexico, and Wyoming. Civil War and Reconstruction, 1861 to 1877. The Civil War began in 1861 when Southern states seceded from the Union in protest of the election of Abraham Lincoln, who opposed the expansion of slavery. The war lasted 4 years and resulted in the defeat of the Confederate States of America. The period of Reconstruction followed the Civil War and aimed to rebuild the country and integrate newly freed slaves into society. However, Reconstruction was marred by violence and political corruption, and the gains made by African Americans during this period were largely rolled back in the following decades.